Good evening, and I welcome you, students. We have already discussed how do we make improvement in our food resources for a country like India, which has a very large population, and the population is increasing, growing. The greatest challenge is how to improve our food resources. And we have discussed last time that crop variety improvement is important for our country, and different methods which we are using for higher yield, improved quality, biotic and abiotic resistance is very important, because a lot of crops will be destroyed if we are not able to do the biotic and abiotic resistance. You have seen then crop production will go down due to certain diseases by insects, nematodes, and others. And there are certain droughts in certain areas which you already experiences. You are familiar with it. Sometimes the soil is saline. Sometimes water logging is there. Somewhere more heat is there, more cold is there. So different situations are there. Floods are there. All these problems we are facing in the production of the crop. And the duration of the crop maturity is important factor, because it should not take too much time for crop to mature. And after the harvesting, it is important that how do we keep all these, uh, because if we don't have a system of storage, then also problems will be there. So we have seen we are looking for wider adaptability and the desired agronomic characteristics in order to improve our food resources. So this is very important because it's a challenge, and already a lot of work is being done. Education of farmer is absolutely essential now, because they have to be educated for the modern methods which are being used for farming. Whatever science and technology we are using, it will help and in more and more production. And after important point is coming now today, what is crop production management? Crops are produced, we have to do the management. Crops are the primary source of food for humans. Crop production and management plays important role to feed the ever-growing population. The large-scale production, proper management and distribution of the crops. What we are saying? Important points. First, you are saying there should be large-scale production. Then there should be proper management. And third, distribution of the crops. These are the essential things which we have to learn, and then only we will be able to fulfill our demands. And the main steps for crop production, we have already discussed with you. Main steps of crop productions are selection of the crop. What crop they have to select, as we have told you, what are the various factors which will give high yield. So to increase the productivity of the crop per acre, what we are doing, student, the different factors we have shown you: the biotic, improved quality, majority duration, wider adaptability, agrominium characteristics. All this we have to, crop has to be selected as per the resources which the farmer, whatever resources, different farmers have different resources. More money they have, they can buy more modern methods. And if they have less, all types of farmers are there in our country. Then the preparation of the land, selection of the seed, sowing of the seed, irrigation, fertilization, harvesting. These are some of the steps which are required for the crop production. The important point which is coming is nutrient management. First question will be asked to the student: what is a nutrient management? Do we eat food? Yes. Then why do we eat food? We need nutrients. What nutrients are required for us? You are saying we need proteins, fats, carbohydrates, lipids, vitamin, minerals. All this is our requirement. So there is a nutrient management. So the question is asked to the student: what is nutrient management. What is nutrient management? Nutrient management refers to efficient use of crops to improve productivity. It is necessary to balance the soil nutrient input. You have seen the topsoil plays an important role in whenever you are growing plants or crops. So necessarily to balance the soil, there are nutrients in the soil, which inputs which we give when we grow with the crop requirement. If nutrients are applied at right time and in adequate quantity, so what we are saying, there is a time when the nutrients have to be supplied and there has to be adequate quantities. For optimum crop yield. All right. So we are aware of this. What do you mean by nutrient management? Now let us see what we are trying to say. The food required by plant. Plant requires food. Anything which is a living organism requires food. Yes or no? We need
Yes,
food.
sir.
All organisms, any organism which is surviving, which is living, will need food. The food required by plant is composed of certain chemical elements. There are chemical elements which are known as nutrients. So what are nutrients? Basically nothing but chemical elements or compounds. Whatever we need, students. Elements will come from where? Certain compounds we are adding, certain substances we are adding. Plants absorb large number of elements from its environment. Only following 16 of these are found to be essential for plant nutrition. So important elements which are required by the plants, as you will learn in our chemistry periodic classification, periodic table, you will see 118 elements have been listed. But certain elements are very, very important out of them. About few elements are very important. You are aware of that. Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, they are everywhere. So phosphorus or certain minerals also we need. Iron also our body is needing. Here are what we are saying 16. What are the following 16 elements? Carbon, you are aware of carbon. C, you know carbon is C. In the symbol of carbon is C. Oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium, students, sulfur, iron, manganese, boron, zinc, molybdenum, chlorine, and copper. These are some of the symbols of the elements. How many are these? 16?
16.
16 elements. So plants will need the nutrients for the plants will be these elements. But do the all elements will be required in the same amount? That we have to see. When even in our body, certain things we need more, certain less. So depends. Our body is made up of what? And you have seen with growth, the requirement also changes. Growing child may need more nutrients. After you attain some age, you may not need because the growth of the body is already taken place. Okay, let us learn more. Sources of essential plant nutrient. Question number 2. Question number 2 is on the screen. Question number 2. What are essential sources of plant nutrients? Plant nutrients. How will the plant get these nutrients? What do you think? Plants will get the nutrients from where? You have air. What air can provide? Atmosphere. What is there in the atmosphere of the air? Air is a mixture of gases, you are saying.
Yes, sir.
What it contains? Air contains is a mixture of gases. You are saying it is a mixture of gases. And what are those? You have oxygen gas, you have nitrogen, you have CO2, and some other things are also present. So you have oxygen, you have carbon here, carbon. So the plants can get oxygen and carbon from where? Air. Water. When I say water, what is the formula of the water, students?
H2O.
So it has got hydrogen and oxygen in the water. And you know what are the functions of the water. Water will dissolve most of the substances and water flows. So they transport the material to different parts also through the water. Then we are saying soil. What the soil is doing? Soil has got elements. What elements are there? Nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium. So many elements are present in the soil. So that what are the sources? Three important sources we have told. What are the three important sources?
Air, water, and soil.
Okay. Air, water, and soil. These are the three important sources from which plant nutrients will be available to the plants. Now there are two types of nutrients. One is called macro and other is called micronutrients. What we are saying? Macronutrients. This question has been asked to the students. And micro, I'm saying macro, and then I'm saying micronutrients. What do you think? What is the difference between these two, students? What is the difference between macro and micro? Okay, I say, oh, water, heal me. I have boiled water. I will sip water, students. What do you mean by the word macro, students? Macro means large and micro means small. So certain elements are required in larger amount, that will be macronutrient, and certain required in smaller amounts, micronutrients. In our body also, you know, there are macro and micronutrients. Certain elements we need in very small amount. So based on what is the question is, question number 4 is coming on the screen. What is the difference between macro and micro elements in the plant? This question has been asked. Based on amount needed, mineral elements are usually classified in two groups, macro and micro. Macro consists of elements of large supply, what you need in large amounts. So macro means you need in large amounts. And micro needed in trace amounts. So what do you mean by micro trace? Trace means small amounts, even sometimes very small amounts. But both are essential for the survival and growth of the plants. You will have two types of nutrients, macro and micro. So in relatively large amounts, soil supplies. What are the soil supplies? Nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium, and sulfur. They are supplied in large amounts. These are often called macronutrients. So what are the macronutrients in our list? What is we saying? Nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium, magnesium, and sulfur. The soil supplies iron, manganese, boron, molybdenum, copper, zinc, chlorine, and cobalt in smaller amount. They are called the micro. So we have a list of macro and micro. Note down, students. This is coming from the soil. Iron, manganese, boron, molybdenum, copper, zinc, chlorine, cobalt, all these. So there are two types of nutrients, macro and micro. Note down. There was a question to the students. Question number 5. What are macronutrients in plant? Is a quite a favorite question. What answer you will write, students?
Sir, macronutrients generally consist of elements that are in large supply.
So few one you immediately you can write which one are these.
Nitrogen, phosphorus,
You can
potassium.
remember NPK. NPK. Nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. They are macronutrients. You know, nitrogen cycle, you have seen these cycles are there. Nitrogen is essential for a plant. Even you have noted about nitrogen fixation. And did I teach in 9th or 10th nitrogen fixation? Did I teach in your class?
Yes, sir.
Nitrogen cycle, did we teach?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You have seen there are nitrogen fixation bacteria. Do they work in the presence or absence of oxygen?
Presence of oxygen.
The answer is wrong. We have discussed that, very important. Nitrogen is essential for plant development since it plays a fundamental role in energy, metabolism, and protein. You know, proteins are polymers of amino acids. They are polymers of amino acids. Amino acid, they contain nitrogen. All amino acid will contain nitrogen. So nitrogen becomes very essential. We have proteins also, students, and we contain nitrogen. And the protein synthesis, we will learn these things as you will go to higher classes, more information. Here, we're just telling you. So proteins which you have, they have got nitrogen in them, amino acids. Okay, all right. So the question is answered. Macronutrients are essential for plant growth. The correct answer to be written is like this. The primary macronutrients are NPK. NPK. So you can remember NPK. Second, another question is coming on the screen because our lectures are based on question answer sessions also. Ultimately, you have to answer and what answer you have to write. Sometimes we tell you how to write an answer also because a lot of students are writing unnecessarily. They don't know what to write. So that's the reason we tell you, okay, this is a correct answer. What are the 7 micronutrients for plants? You have 1 to 2 minutes to answer the question, students. What answer are you writing? These are live webinars. Interaction of the student is absolutely essential so that you learn more, understand more. No mugging, please. What is the answer coming? The 7 essential plant nutrients. You can remember boron. Boron symbol is B, student. Zinc. In chemistry, you are learning the symbol of zinc. Manganese is also becoming important, student. Mn. Iron is so well known to you. Fe. Copper is so well known to all the students. You are using copper as a metal. These are metals, copper, zinc. Molybdenum also you are using a lot. Chlorine also you are aware of, students. So these are some of the. They constitute in total less than 1% of the dry weight of the most of the plant. Less than 1%. Okay? Less than 1% of the total. Okay? Dry weight of plants, he is saying. So they are quite in small amounts. One, two, three, four, five, six, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No down everything. Another question is there, mode of intake of 13 essential nutrients by plants. Question number 7 is coming on the screen. What is mode of intake of 13 essential nutrients by the plant? How it is taken by the plants? You have 1 to 2 minutes to think and answer the questions. The 13 soil nutrients remain dissolved in water. See the importance of water now. Water will dissolve these 13 elements. They are absorbed by the roots from the soil. You know the soil and the roots of the plants. These are the roots. Any plant student, what happens then? This is your soil. So the roots of the plants are where? Inside the soil. Right?
Yes, sir.
So they are absorbed by the roots from the soil by the plants. The most important nutrient elements required for are NPK again and again we are seeing. Primary nutrient, plant nutrients. So if crop plants are grown in the same soil year after, then primary nutrients would be decreasing more rapidly than other nutrients. Then what will happen, students? What will be the result of that? Such a specific deficiency of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium in the soil is recouped by adding chemical. That is why we add chemical fertilizers, because there will be a deficiency of NPK. Again and again you are using it, plants are taking it. So NPK deficiency by chemical fertilizers and manures. Right? What is the difference between fertilizer and manure? We will study all this. So does that make sense, students?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So here is a table which shows the source and the nutrients. What sources I told you? Number 1, air. Air gives you what? Carbon and oxygen. Water gives you what? Water gives what to the plants? Hydrogen and oxygen. And soil is providing 2 things, macro and micro. Important question for the exam. Question number 7. What nutrients are provided by soil, water, air, to plants? So we have a table to show that. Note down, these things are important. Ultimately, the more we learn, the better we are. And when you write, it helps you. You have notes, you will get video recorded sessions, live webinars, and then any difficulty, you can see our videos. It are quite informative and plenty of information have been added from many sources. What will happen if there is a question number 8? What is the result of deficiency of nutrients? Nutrients in the plants, in the growth of the, what is the what do you think? What answer you will give? What is the result of if nutrients are not supplied in proper amounts, they are not available, what will happen? If I am not getting the food I need, will my body grow? Tell me.
No, sir.
There is what we call as a malnutrition. And a lot of children are dying of malnutrition all over the world. They don't get the proper and right amount of nutrients. So deficiency of these nutrients affects the psychological processes, physiological processes in plants, reproduction, growth, susceptibility to diseases. So what is happening? You can see this will be physiologically affecting. What process will be affected? Reproduction. So the reproduction will be affected. Then what you have? The growth. So what will be affected, student? Reproduction, growth, and there will be more diseases to the plants. They are weak. All these problems will be there. So to increase the yield, what we will do then? What we do in order to increase the yield? To increase the yield. Question number 9. What will you do, student? Tell me. What
We
you
will use fertilizers and manure.
huh?
Fertilizers and manures.
So you will supply the nutrients from outside. What we are saying, the nutrients to be supplied. How will you supply the nutrients? That is the question. So you will add nutrients to soil. And what are the two ways to add? Fertilizers and or what we are doing? Manures. So they will provide the macro and micronutrients which are being consumed when you repeatedly grow the same crops on the soil. The soil is getting depleted. Soil is getting depleted. And if the soil, top layer of the soil is no longer there, nutrients are not there, then that soil is useless and what we call as a barren land, and then crops cannot grow in that. In our country, one of the problem is that a lot of soil is becoming barren. Question is coming on the screen. What are macronutrients? Why are they called macronutrients? Did we answer this question?
Yes, sir.
What answer we gave? We already answered that question. What we said, NPK.
Yes, sir.
They are called micro because they are required in
Larger quantities.
large amount. More clear answer has been written in our, already we have given. Another important question has been asked to the student. Question, how do plant get nutrients? You have 1 to 2 minutes to think and answer the question. How do plants get nutrients? Important question. Again and again it is being asked in different books. This question has been taken from NCERT book, which they have asked. So naturally it can be asked in the papers. How do plant get nutrients? What answer you are writing, students?
So through air, water, and soil, they get nutrients.
Now we have written it so that you have no difficulty in writing the correct answer. Already explained soil, air, water, 16 nutrients essential for plants. Of the air supplies carbon, oxygen, hydrogen is obtained from water. Soil supplies remaining 13 macro and micro. Soil is giving macro and micronutrients. List we have given the table. Say that how we write an answer. If question is carrying 1 mark, students, then the marking scheme as by the CBSE nowadays is half marks. If the question carries 2 marks, then it may be like 1 plus 1. So we have to provide information in steps, number 1, number 2, like this. So first we said they are getting from soil, water and air. So you are given 1 mark. Number 2, you are then saying air gives what? Carbon and oxygen. Then you are saying water, hydrogen and oxygen is there. Then soil, you are saying there are macro plus micro. You already have the names list of that. So you get 1 mark and 1 mark. Here you may get half and half. Depends student on the marking scheme. How to answer a question is also important. And we give time for that, so that don't write things which are not required. And write correct and specific and short answers always. So students who understand, they will be able to do it. And if you are mugging, then naturally there will be difficulties and problems. We are saying do not mug, try to understand. Okay, up to now, no difficulty. The question is asked student, what is a manure? What is a manure? Next question is coming on the screen. Question is question number 9. What is manure, students? You have 1 to 2 minutes to think and answer the question. What is a manure then? We have explained to you that when you are repeatedly growing the crops, what will happen? The plants, there will be deficiency of plant nutrients. So you have to add the nutrients from outside. One of the way is chemical fertilizers or manure. So we can say, students, manure, I am saying the answer of this question, manure are natural fertilizers. What do you mean by natural? These are not synthetic, they are not man-made chemically. Then where they are coming from? Manures are natural fertilizers, natural. They are bulky sources of organic matter which supply nutrients in small quantities. Manures are prepared by decomposition of animal excreta and plant waste. How will you prepare manures? You know, nowadays you are preparing manures at your home also from the waste products. So it is prepared by decomposition of animal excreta and plant waste. There is a lot of plant waste, animal excreta. So they are being converted into manures. Do you know how the process takes place? There are microorganisms which work on this. So manures include farmyard manure, compost, green manures, vermi-compost. These are some of the type of manures. Note down, students. A question has been, next question is coming. What are the advantages of manures? Next question, number 10. What are advantages of manures? What answer you are giving? You have 1 to 2 minutes. Okay, whatever you know, tell me.
That they help in providing nutrients to the soil.
Here we have given you some 1, 2, 3, 4. What is the manures? Enrich the soil with nutrients. Very clear. They replenish the general deficiency of that is a deficiency of the nutrients in the soil. They provide the nutrients. Manures add organic matter called humus. Humus is very important. The topsoil, when we discussed, this is the most important part of the soil. Why humus is so important? Tell me. It is porous. It restores the soil texture and better retention of water and for aeration of the soil. And micro living organisms, they are living in this part where humus. There is a retention of water and aeration of the soil. So the organic matter is being added. Third, the organic matter manure provide food for the soil organism. Decomposers such as bacteria, fungi help in making nutrients available to the plants. You know what are decomposers? There are bacteria and fungi. They will make the nutrient available. Plants cannot take everything like what it is in the atmosphere or anything. So we have to convert, for example, nitrogen gas plants cannot take. Even I am inhaling nitrogen. Am I using it? No, it's coming like that. So there are decomposers. They are converting whatever in the soil organism, which we get in the humus, as we said. So the organic matters, there will be bacteria and fungi. They will make the nutrient available to plants. They will convert in the form which plants can use. Organic manures help to improve physical properties. Physical properties soil, reduce soil erosion, increase moisture holding capacity of the soil. These are important factors. Because soil erosion is a very serious problem, and the cost is also very low. They are low cost. So if you have this, you can use it. Note down all the points. Further, some disadvantages can be there. If there are advantages, there are disadvantages. Merits and demerits. Such questions are there in our science. Every time we talk of this. Manures are bulky with the nutrient value is low. See, this is important. They have low nutrient value. Nutrient manures are released slowly. Being bulky and they are inconvenient to handle, store and transfer. It is difficult to store and handle them. You have seen where will we put them and store them. And it is not nutrient specific. If you need certain specific nutrients, then we can't do that in this. It is not much useful when a particular nutrient, if you need a specific or a particular nutrient, depending on what you are growing, then naturally this has a disadvantage. We cannot fix the amount of 9 P, K or any other nutrients, macro or micro in this. It's natural, whatever is there, natural. So here no fixing can be done. But when you have fertilizers, you will see how we are making, then we can vary the nutrient amounts or elements which we want, more or less. Okay. Now you have heard about compost. What is compost? Question number 12. What is compost? Everything to be answered. When questions are given, then students think about the answer, and then I find they learn more. So that's why I'm trying to put questions to you. Every time we study some chapter or thing, we are asking question, we are trying to understand the meaning of the word. It will help us. You have 1 to 2 minutes to think before we talk about this. What is a compost? You have any idea? Are you growing anything at your homes? Nowadays they are asking and encouraging the people to grow, have self gardens at home are becoming common.
Yes, sir.
Compost is prepared from farm and town refuse such as vegetable and animal refuse, fecal matter of human beings, sewage waste, weeds, crop stubble, straw, rice hulls, forest litter, etc. Vegetable peels you are making or animal refuse, whatever sewage waste is there, stubble of the crop, you have seen they were burning stubble of the crop, which caused a lot of air pollution. Rice hulls, forest litter, whatever wastage is there, that is converted into what we call as compost. It is a biological process. How it happens? You have seen they collect all these things at some point. And then what happens? Biological, in which both aerobic organism requiring presence of oxygen for respiration and anaerobic organism in which respiration takes place in the absence of oxygen. There are two types of organisms. One which need oxygen and one which do not need. So the microorganism decompose the organic matter. Microorganisms are very important. What we call as decomposers.
Yes, sir.
Microorganisms, they are decomposers of whatever organic matter you have. It takes about 3 to 6 months for decomposition of organic refuse. Nutrient contents of town compost are about 1.4% nitrogen, 1% phosphorus, pentoxide means it contains P, phosphorus, and 1.4 of potassium. This is potassium K. So you can note down the composition also. This is some information about the compost. We have used them words, but we were not knowing the exact composition of these elements. They are important. There are different types of methods of what we call as, there is a vermi-composting also. Degradation of organic waste through consumption by earthworms is called vermi. There are earthworms, you know. So they degrade organic waste. That is called vermi-composting. Earthworm is physically an aerator, crusher, and mixer. Chemically, it is a degrader and biologically a stimulator of decomposition. See, you are thinking earthworm should be killed. What is the use of? Now you see what is the importance of earthworm. They are required. The decomposers, they are all decomposers. They are working for us students. Microorganisms in the soil are doing their job. They are helping in preparation of the food which we are eating. And if they are removed, what will happen? See, there is a food chain, food web, cycles. All organisms are important. And they are doing their job silently. You may not be aware. They are not, everything is not harming. You see, sometimes when you see, oh, these rats are there, mosquitoes are there, they are harmful, they are biting us. But then there are organisms. They are all required and working. This is how the life works. Okay. There is a green manuring. What is a green manuring, students? Question 13. What is green? Green itself is a word which is showing some meaning. Think you have 1 to 2 minutes before we talk of this green manuring. What will be green manuring, students? So much learning is there. The practice of green manuring includes growing, mulching by plowing and mixing of green crops with the soil. There are green crops they will mix with the soil. They are mixed with the soil to improve physical structure. To improve physical structure. And soil fertility. So we are talking of two things important here. Here it is written physical structure and soil. The green manures may include both leguminous and non-leguminous plants. What is the difference between leguminous and non-leguminous plants, students? Two types of plants we are talking. So much learning, more we understand, more we learn. What is the difference between leguminous and non-leguminous plants? I think we read that somewhere. You have 1 to 2 minutes. Which are leguminous plants and which are non-leguminous plants? You can search the answer, students. If you don't know, we are just trying to tell you how to learn everything. Every word has a meaning. Did we study anything about this? These plants are used by Indian farmers to add nitrogen, phosphorus, and other organic material to the soil for the improvement of the crop yield. You can learn, and next time you can try to answer the question. The green manure crops are grown in the field for about 6 to 8 weeks. 6 to 8 weeks means 1 month has how many weeks? 4 or 2 months, and turn into the field in the tender stage. At flowering stage, the crops which require high nutrient inputs are raised in green manured field. Certain crops need more nutrients, high nutrient. What are those crops which need high nutrient? Rice, it needs high nutrient. Maize, sugarcane, cotton, wheat. They need high nutrients. So they are raised in the green manured field. So we learn about these things. Now we are coming to another important point, students. Fertilizers. Question. This is a question has been asked to you, student. Question number 12. What are fertilizers? You have 1 to 2 minutes to answer the question. What are fertilizers?
Sir, they are the chemical substances that enrich nutrients of the soil.
So they are made by man. They are synthesized by man. They are commercially produced plant nutrients. Fertilizers supply nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium. They are used to ensure good vegetative growth, leaves giving rise to healthy plants. Fertilizers are a factor in higher yield of high cost farming, because this will cost you when you will make fertilizers. We are already saying commercially produced, man-made. So they are synthetic. Synthetic means made by man. Naturally, they will cost. They will cost. So you can see farmers also need money and funds. Sometimes the government is supplying fertilizers to the farmers for higher yields. For higher yields. Okay. And here are some of the examples, student. Nitrogenous fertilizers. Can you give names of few nitrogenous fertilizers? Important question. Give name of nitrogenous fertilizer. Do you know anything? You already know about this. It's very common. What is that? You are aware of one very important compound of nitrogen. Urea.
Yes, sir.
Our urine, what is that? Uric acid. Urea. It contains nitrogen. You know, bags of urea are being provided by the government. Then what provides phosphorus? N, P, single superphosphate, triphosphate, dicalcium. These are phosphates. Phosphates contain phosphorus. Your bones also contain phosphorus. You know about it. Potassic fertilizers. They will give you potassium. Some compounds of potassium, you know. They are macronutrients, what we are talking. Fertilizers will supply potassium. These are macronutrients. Potassium chloride, if I write KCl, it contains potassium, students. K2SO4 is potassium sulfate. See, they can supply the potassium. Complex will mean that they can supply more than one element. There are complex fertilizers also. These are commercial. They have to be supplied. Then you have to buy them. It will cost you at least 2 or more nutrients. To complex fertilizer, it can give nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, nitrophosphate, ammonium phosphate, urea, ammonium phosphate. All these are chemical compounds. What are these? Chemical compounds. So this will cost you, student. Fertilizers becoming commercialized and important. Certain thing I am talking about biofertilizers. What do you mean by bio, student? Organism which enrich the soil with the nutrients are called biofertilizers. Okay? Bio means living. Biofertilizers are used in specific crops such as pulses, legumes, oil seeds, and rice. So biofertilizers are renewable, non-pollutant sources of plant nutrients such as nitrogen, nitrogen-fixing microorganism, non-symbiotic and symbiotic cyanobacteria, and phosphate soluble micro are the main types of biofertilizers. Two biofertilizers, namely rhizobium and blue-green alga, have gained popularity amongst farmers cultivating pulses, legumes. Interesting information. Living organisms supplying the fertilizers and nutrients. Nitrogen fixing, you already know. Nitrogen cycle we studied. So this alga, blue-green alga, and rhizobium. So much information. Organic farming is a system with minimal or no use of chemical fertilizer. What do you mean by organic farming, students? We don't want to use chemicals. No use of chemicals as fertilizers. Herbicides, pesticides, etc., with a maximum input of organic manures, recycled farm waste, straw, livestock excreta, use of bioagent such as culture of just I talked of blue-green algae in preparation of biofertilizer. That's why we talked of biofertilizers. Important. Biofertilizers, student. Neem or leaves or turmeric, specifically in grain storage. Storage is another problem. We will discuss that in neem. Neem is used a lot, you see. Neem leaves. Neem leaves. In the grain storage as biopesticide. These are biopesticides. Others are artificial chemical compounds, pesticides, biopesticides. With healthy cropping system, mixed cropping, intercropping, and crop rotation, as discussed below, in these cropping systems are beneficial in insect, pest, and weed control beside providing nutrients. So I hope students understand now what we have talked of crop production management and the nutrient management. Without nutrients, you cannot grow the crops and plants. And what type of nutrients options we have. So manures are there, fertilizers are there, and what are the advantages or disadvantages of each type. And certain fertilizers are essential for higher production, you have seen, because they will be able to provide specific elements which are required, whereas manures cannot provide the specific. And we have discussed what are compost and how they are prepared. Green manure is being used a lot, and we have shown how there are fertilizers and manures. Both are nowadays used, and everything. Fertilizers is a commercial, it will cost, and urea is being used a lot. So we end up the chapter here today. I hope we have got a lot of information, and we will meet you in the next class with the next part, which is also very important. And we will see you tomorrow at 6. Okay. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you, sir.